was on county council. But I want to concur your remarks. The level of cooperation, the level of energy, the level of commitment to not just the municipalities that you represent, but the municipalities and the region in general. And it's never been more, more needed and more example shown than this year during these last 6 months during the pandemic. Our region has done much better than other places around the country with similar demographics, similar density, that type of thing. And it's really through cooperation that I think people have followed that. You're going to hear from a couple of county folks later on. Katherine Kelleman from the Port Authority, obviously connecting folks through what she does and the innovation she's brought to the transit system has been tremendous and challenging, obviously, during this time as, separation, physical distancing, all the mitigating factors, masks, et cetera, that we got to go through. Transit has certainly as many challenges as anything. And then from the health department, Otis Pitts is going to talk about some of the things, the diversion program that's being implemented. I'm sure Dr. Bogan would be here, but she's been a little busy these last 6 months in doing the things that we've had to deal with. But it can only occur through again the great work that you all do, working together. I think this organization, bringing people together has been so powerful in how we've been able to move forward. Obviously, it's not the same when we're on Zoom or Teams or whatever method we're using, but know that, when we do get together physically, it is a spirit of camaraderie and a spirit of cooperation and actually very good fellowship of people working together across party lines, municipal lines, et cetera, working for the betterment of the community. So I know we have some challenges and we'll continue to have challenges, but I know we're going to come out hopefully in a few months on the other end of this and get back to normal where we can shake hands with each other and be a little closer to each other physically. But those days will come. But no, I'm not going to read the proclamation. You have it in front of you. Know that you have our full support, not just from Darla and the administration, but through all the agencies like the health department and the Port Authority that are kind of part of county government. We'll make sure that continues to happen. I also want to congratulate the incoming chair, Chair DeMarco. Loved working with her in Forest Hills and among other things over the years, and I know she's going to do a good job. And Brittany, I want to thank you for your service, certainly to do it now in these challenging times, and now handing over the gavel to Patty will also be challenging for her as well. But we'll continue to support each other, continue to work together, and we'll get through this, and we'll be stronger as a region on the other side. Thank you for everything you guys do, and good luck.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Rich.
you.
Thank you for all the support of the county over the years. And Rich, thank you for letting us use all of Darla's brain power every week. Everything we do, we're constantly tapping her as a source of information and inspiration. So thank you so much.
We all do. I do the same thing in the office. So she is an inspiration. Thanks.
And in true Connect fashion, we're shaking things up with the legislative session, and I forgot to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh.
So we all know how, or at least those of us who have done Zoom council meetings know how difficult it can be to do a Pledge of Allegiance with 100 people on it. So I'm going to say it. I ask that you all say it as well, but mute yourselves so it's not a chorus of row, row, row your boat. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, is Mayor Peduto in the house?
I don't know if he is yet, but in the meantime, if everyone could use the chat to sign in and rename themselves so that you have your name and your municipality, since we didn't get to print out all of your fancy name cards. And in the chat, introduce yourself and your role. So the role that you play at the municipality or organization. And please also, one thing that you're excited about for Connect's agenda this year. What is one resolution that's super speaking to you? Or, what's something a challenge that you're excited to work with your neighbors on? We're gonna give everybody a second to put that into the chat. And also that that flag GIF was great. It wasn't the real thing, but Tess, that was pretty cute. Also, we really hope you really, everyone got their swag bag. If you have a cocktail or a water or a coffee, maybe we could all just hold them up and cheers for a second.
Salud.
Kick it off. Does everybody get one?
Yeah, I want to highlight and thank Lydia and Tess and Kelly and the whole team for everything they did to make this, if not normal, very entertaining, and I think it's going to be a delight. So thank you all for doing that.
Awesome. Okay, our next speaker, go ahead and introduce Brittany, if you don't mind.
I can't see his little square, but I'm assuming he's here. We've got Mayor William Peduto from the city of Pittsburgh. The city has been a founding member, a long-time engaged member of Connect, and we are happy to introduce Mayor William Peduto to give his remarks. Thanks,
Hey
Bill.
guys, thank you for this. Yeah, I came to my office yesterday and there's a bag sitting outside the door. I'm like, is that a sandwich? And it's like, no, it's a pepperoni roll. And I'm like, that sounds great. I'm gonna have that for lunch. And I got to throw the ginger beer into the fridge, but I really appreciated that. Yeah, I've been honored to be a part of Connect since Connect started. In City Council, I was the member along with Patrick Dowd, who sponsored the bill for the city to become a full-time member. And I'm a strong believer that, you know, the issues that we all have to deal with do not know political boundaries. And if we are all going to serve our residents the best that we could and the best that we can, it becomes imperative that we work together. It's quite ironic. I just got off of a first Zoom meeting, which is sort of like Connect on steroids. It was with the mayors of Huntington, West Virginia, Morgantown, West Virginia, Youngstown, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and Louisville, Kentucky, the Upper Appalachia, the Ohio Valley. And what we are talking about is how do we build a more sustainable economy? How do we work together as we see a transition in our economy to take care of the people who work in the older industries so that they transition in a way that is sustainable. And that we look to work together with our universities to build out infrastructure plans that will make our region more sustainable for the future. So as I sat and I was going through that first meeting today, I was thinking about the years of being involved with Connect. That's basically what we're doing. We're trying to figure out a way that we can work together to solve some of the issues that really do need more of a regional approach that can be done much better when we're working 33 together instead of 33 separate ways. And as we do recognize, we live in the most fractured government structure in all of America. And that makes for wonderful parades where everybody's fire trucks are able to be in there. But at that same time, there's a lot of challenges that happen with it. The benefit is you have more direct democracy and you have more of a direct voice in your own community. The bad part of it is when Burger King wants to put 3 curb cuts and it goes into 3 separate townships and boroughs. So it is absolutely imperative we have an organization like this in order to be able to work together. And it also is very incumbent on having people like you who want to work together, who want to find ways to work across political boundaries and to be able to help this city, this county, and this region to prosper. So Pittsburgh's honored to stand shoulder to shoulder with each of you. It says the guy who grew up in Scott Township and whose backyard was in Carnegie.
Thank you so much, Mayor Peduto. I'll toss it over to Lydia to explain everything that we're about to do, but we are so grateful that you and County Executive Fitzgerald were able to be here today, among many other days that you're helping us out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, as we fully celebrate Connect Day, both in the city and the county, those proclamations mean so much to us. We really, really appreciate it. So in the spirit of what a Connect membership meeting or, the annual legislative session would be, you get a chance to check in with people who you haven't seen. You get to meet new faces. You get to hear the sound of your own voice, at least for a little bit. And if we didn't allow that, we would feel that we hadn't tried our hardest to capture the spirit of the network. Because ultimately we are a network and we're as strong as our weakest link. So we all need you to know each other's faces. We all need you to trust each other's, assume the best intent when we speak and we share information and when we propose ideas. And the only way to do that is if you actually get to spend time with each other, talking and meeting each other over a series of time. And so we've been experimenting with different ways to do this with Connect meetings all summer. We've done the skill shares, we've done happy hours, all on Zoom. And we're gonna do a breakout where you'll be in a smaller group. And in that smaller group, you'll have likely a Connect officer or a Connect staffer or someone that is speaking today that was willing to host a little breakout session. And if you don't have one of those, what you're gonna do is you're going to say your name and your role out loud, introduce yourselves to those random people that are in the room with you. You're gonna think, are there more familiar or unfamiliar faces on this Zoom? Connect is 11 years old, but elected officials filter in and out, managers move in and out, and those are our big members. And so we want, and our partners, engineers and planners and architects are often changing around too. And so this is a great opportunity, and our nonprofits, executive, leadership's changed. So what we're gonna do now is you're gonna get a prompt to join a breakout room. It'll be smaller. It'll be like, as if you're standing in a corner at the reception, waiting to come into a big room, and you're randomly getting caught in a conversation with someone. We know you all like each other. We know you're all thrilled to see each other. So we didn't plan this. We have no idea who you're gonna end up with, but get to know each other. And in 5 minutes, if that's painfully awkward for your social anxiety, it will be over. And hopefully you've used our ginger beer and you've got something good in here to make it fun. So Tess has sent the invites and you'll join a breakout room. So just click that join breakout room and we'll see you in 5 minutes. This is also when we can tell if you've walked away.
It's never enough time for our small group breakouts.
I'm glad that that's the case. It's better than if they just dragged on. So I hope you got to talk to someone that you hadn't seen in a long time, or you met somebody new, or you heard about some cool fall plans and now you have cool fall plans. That is a power of a network at its core. I want to take a quick minute here to acknowledge our sponsors who are on here and are just so generous with their time, with their resources, and see the value in connecting with all of us. And I just think that's really important. So our connected sponsors are Alcasan and Gateway. So thank you guys for being here and always being here. Jean Clark, I think you've been a part of Connect since the beginning. It's hard to find you in all of these, but it's really good. Our leading sponsors, we got NiSource, HRG, Michael Baker International, and Columbia Gas. You are so appreciated, not only in your making the swag bags happen or the reception happen and the fundraiser happen, but for showing up at the working groups and figuring out what kind of things can be an awesome public-private partnership. The more of those, the better. And I don't want to leave out our friends of Connect, Allegheny Land Trust. I'll do a quick shout out for them. They're having a day of giving today. CS Mckees, investment managers, Dickie McCamey, First National Bank, and GTN Law. You couldn't do it without you guys. You're all friends of Connect, and we really appreciate it. So thank you to our sponsors and also to our partners. We've got some great partners who are here today who show up and lend time, especially we've got Sustainable Pittsburgh. I know Jim Price and Allie. Well, Allie shares her staff time from Sustainable Pittsburgh and Connect, which is a great partnership. We've got Joy Lett, the executive director. We've got a number of other great nonprofits here that we love working with, and we keep adding and sharing that information. This network keeps growing, and that's awesome. And then of course our members. I just want to call back to our first Zoom in March, where none of us had been on Zoom. None of us thought this was possible. And 40 of you showed up that day ready to figure out how we get through this incredibly challenging pandemic together. John Frombach and Patty DeMarco sent us off into the world feeling so much better and so much less alone with every municipality can get through COVID. It launched a big effort around understanding what the effect would be on municipal revenues. And we had many of you meet in this ad hoc weekly committee to predict what the revenue crisis could be, what we could do together, and what tools we could try to push for with DCED in the state. And they are working on that with the local government commission, and that's awesome. DCED is here and has been at the table through all of that. We're gonna meet our new specialist in just a minute. And I gotta thank our staff, which is growing, and the most enthusiastic group of people I've ever met. I can't get over it. Tess, it was just me and Tess a year ago, and now we've got Joellen and Kelly and Allie and Eric and Tosan and Kaylee and Cassidy, and all of you are on here today. You all helped deliver the swag bags. You helped make all of our members get access to this great information that's coming out of GISPIA. And so we'll also meet the new GISPIA dean later. And then lastly, I really want to thank our members, our officers who show up to extra meetings, the ones that are rolling off, the ones that are coming, and those that will never leave, even if they're not technically an officer anymore, or the staff who will never leave. We've got Kristen and Kathy and Lindsay and Jim. They're all connectors forever. And I think they have a little watch party going on, so that's awesome. And lastly, we've got to thank Dave Miller, who, for whatever reason, he's on camera more than anyone. And he was the one that said, we have to be on camera. We have to be on Zoom. We're not canceling a single meeting. It is so important to be face-to-face for the work that we do. And we did in March. And then every one of your council meetings started meeting on Zoom, and we were so honored to help facilitate those, keep governing. It was amazing. The way that connects resilience through a network, doing it together, it's just getting better, and I love it. And I think we all know Dave is fighting lots of battles, but we're so happy that he's never gonna not be our founding advisor. He looks amazing. You can't see him on camera, but I saw him earlier today. All that beautiful white hair is back. His voice is back, and he's going to give us a couple of remarks as our founding advisor and now official professor emeritus and former dean of GISPIA.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those kind words, Lydia. And you would figure one time it was really important, I can't get my video camera to work. So my apologies for that. Yes, for those of you who may not know, one of the things I was involved within was a small group of people that put together a program called Connect in 2008. It's always been housed at the University of Pittsburgh, and it's always been under my my official arm within the context of the university. As Lydia suggested, I'm fighting another battle I'm into my second year of stage 4 esophageal cancer, and the esophageal is going pretty good. The stage 4 not so good, but it really precluded me from being able to spend the time that I would need to spend, I think, to do justice to my job. So yes, I am now officially retired, and we were trying to time this sort of bringing one era to an end and starting another era to introduce Carissa, our new dean. Is she on yet, Lydia?
Not quite yet. I think she'll be on at 4:35. You can just, we'll keep it moving.
Oh, no, that's fine. So we'll have those introductions, and I want to say that I think what we want to get is a commitment from the university and to continue the relationship that we have with the university. From the standpoint, I think it's the greatest bang for our buck in terms of how many resources we're able to put up against the amount of work that comes out of this organization. It's truly, truly remarkable. As I was thinking about today, I was also a little nostalgic, sort of thinking about the last 2 years. And I want to say if I made 3 good decisions, the decisions were on sort of who was going to be Connect's executive director. And Lydia, I think, comes from a legacy of you guys have really made a difference. Somebody can have an idea, but if you can't translate that idea into action, then it doesn't do any good. And you guys have been key in the process of being able to do that. There aren't quite as many as there used to be, but there are still some that attended the original meeting on October 31st, 2008, when the idea of Connect was first started. But there were some, many of you local officials at the time understood that something new had to be put in place, that we couldn't continue to do the same thing that we were doing over and over again, and that for there to be a partnership with the city of Pittsburgh and at least those that share a common border, that we can get out of this. It's an us v them thing. And I think everybody in Connect was ready to do that. And I've always been amazed, I think, at the process by which maybe I had the idea, but you guys understood what the idea was and how it implemented better than you thought you did. You know, as I reflect back on my career, you know, there are a lot of things that I'm proud of, but I do have to say, just watching you guys operate and Connect is probably beats them all by a mile. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be working with you all these years. Up 432. Should I get my guitar?
You're good, Dave. We're gonna introduce some other new faces altogether after our first resolution. So if we can all do a round of the reaction mode of clapping our hands for our officially retired emeritus professor and founding advisor, David Miller, that would be great. Look at all those claps, Dave. And we know you're smiling. We've got a standing ovation. Folks are standing up. This is a big deal. And a cheers. We got a cheers. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Dave. And maybe Ree can fix your camera for you. JK. All right. So without further ado, we're going to kick it off to Mayor Garrett to introduce our first resolution. Long-term connector here.
Yes, connected forever. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everyone, although obviously in person would be preferential, but here we are making it work. So I have the pleasure as chair of the nominating committee to present forth the resolution 20-01 for the election of our Board of Officers for that slate. So to hear and act on the report of the nominating committee, the nominating committee recommends the Congress to elect the following officers. To elect as chair for a term of 19 months, Patricia DeMarco, Council Vice President, Borough of Forest Hills. To elect as vice chair for a term of 19 months, Andrew Flynn, Commissioner, Mount Lebanon Township. To re-elect as secretary treasurer for a term of 19 months, Mary Ellen Ramage, Manager, Borough of Etna. You want to highlight? Yes. All right. And to elect as the manager representative for a term of 19 months, George Shabowski, Manager, Brentwood Borough. And to appoint as immediate past chair for a term of 19 months, Brittany Reno, Council President, Borough of Sharpsburg. To re-elect as the Allegheny County representative for a term of 19 months, Rich Fitzgerald, County Executive, Allegheny County. To re-elect as the representative of the Mayor's Office of the City of Pittsburgh for a term of 19 months, William Peduto, Mayor, City of Pittsburgh.
And I have a second. Sorry, is that the is that the whole
Well, I
motion?
was going to say, do I have a motion? But we have our second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm just going to assume everybody. So yes, the motion passed. So let's give a round of applause for our new officers joining us in this next 19 months of Connect. And I also want to take this time to thank Steve Buter and Bill Stout for their years of service to the Connect Executive Committee as well too. Thank you all so much for your service and your dedication. And with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Mark Sampagna of Green Tree Borough, who is also our Bylaws Committee Chair.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And before I move on to the next resolution, I'd like to thank Brittany Reno from Sharpsburg Borough for her service as chair of this organization. And I'd like to let you know, Brittany, that we all greatly appreciate your service and look forward to having you continue as the immediate past chair. And we have a little token of appreciation for you that Tess will get to you shortly.
Thanks, Mark. The honor's all mine. Thank you.
So before I get back to the actual resolution, I want to thank the other members of my bylaws committee for helping draft the revisions to the bylaws that we enacted over the last year and a half or so. So once upon a time at a university not so far away, one Dr. David Miller had an idea to create an organization whereby the city of Pittsburgh and municipalities that shared a border with the city could get together to work on issues that they shared in common. Thus, the Congress of Neighboring Communities, now known as Connect, was born. While operating under this structure for a few years, other municipalities and the county itself began to take notice of some of Connect's early achievements, including a model zoning ordinance for residential solar energy installations, collaborative work on sanitary sewer issues, the sharing of best practices and ideas with other municipal leaders on a regular basis, even a community paramedic program jointly funded by UPMC and HARC. Whoever thought that would happen in 2013? So as other municipalities began requesting membership, Connect's executive committee decided it would be appropriate to widen our horizons, so to speak, and we changed the bylaws to lift the geographic restrictions. Actually, our bylaws have been revised 6 times, including a revision making it easier to revise those bylaws. So now municipalities can become members by meeting just a few simple requirements, and they no longer have to wait for a legislative session such as this to be voted in. The borough of Swissvale and Ingram Borough, who incidentally do share a border with the city of Pittsburgh, were in fact accepted as members at an executive meeting this past February. So we're simply using the occasion of this legislative session to more formally welcome them. So I motion that the following resolution number 20-02 be adopted. Whereas Ingram Borough and the Borough of Swissvale have requested membership in Connect, and whereas Ingram Borough and the Borough of Swissvale have met the criteria set forth in the policy on inviting new municipalities to join the Congress of Neighboring Communities that was accepted by the Connect Executive Committee in February of 2015. I believe that should be 2019. I'm sorry, 2015, yes. Therefore, be it resolved that Ingram Borough and the Borough of Swissvale are formally welcomed as member municipalities by the Congress of Neighboring Communities. Can I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 The motion's accepted and the resolution is adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. We have a couple of new faces here to also introduce. It's great to have Ingram and Swissvale officially back in our network and to have excellent representation in Sean and Greg. So glad that you're here. I'd like to also just spotlight some folks that are going to be giving us remarks that are also new, big, less new, but still new, because in Allegheny County, new is like 10 years. So we've got Otis Pitts, who is our Director of Public Policy and Community Relations. He'll be giving remarks a little later on. So grateful for our strengthening relationship with the Health Department. And Joylette Portlock, the Executive Director of Sustainable Pittsburgh. Both are, I think we all started about the same time. We're all over, almost getting around 2 years together here, but it still feels kind of new because of the region. And I want to quickly give a chance to our incoming Dean of Gispia, who is Carissa Slaughterback. Here she is. She hasn't officially started getting paid yet, but she's here, and we're really thrilled to just let your face be seen and for you to say hello.
Hi, thank you, Lydia, and thanks, David, as well. It's nice to see all of these great faces who've been connected with this great program. As Lydia said, I actually don't start at Gispia until October 1st, but I am now settled in Regent Square in the city of Pittsburgh and loving the city and loving getting to know the neighborhood and the university and just getting settled in this really great place. One of the things that certainly stood out to me as I was interviewing for the job at Gispia was the Connect program. Connect is similar to a program that I actually started at the University of Minnesota, where I was before, that connected university students and faculty with communities in the Twin Cities region in Minnesota. So it's very familiar, it's really, really important. And I think just such, it speaks so well to the commitment that Gispia has to communities. And I'm excited to get to know the program, get to know all of the great partners in the region, and just figure out how I can support it going forward. So hopefully I'll have a chance to meet all of you in greater depth and have lots more conversation. But for now, just wanted to pop in and say hello, and I'll be listening in for a bit today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Dean Slaughterback. That is awesome.
Thank you.
You're getting a lot of welcome messages in the chat from Gispia alums. We've got a lot of what we call connected alumni at this meeting here, and it's in large part to Dave Miller, but also just University of Pittsburgh. Actually, if we wanted to, you could do the reaction thumbs up if you're a Pitt alum. We joke that Gispia, yeah, there's a lot. If you scroll through the 5 pages that is this Zoom, there's a lot of thumbs up for Pitt. So connected alums are about. That's awesome. All right, and then we've got one more new face. A lot of great things happen with Connect through DCED and Denny Pucco, who has retired, but in his stead, we're introducing Nick Macarthur, who is our new Director of Local Government, Local Government Specialist from DCED.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick Macarthur. I am a local government policy specialist for DCED. I started in December and only had 2 months of being around and then have been stuck at home. since then, but I am the new, my focus is on planning and shared service type efforts here, and I am based in Pittsburgh, so I am new here. So I'm excited to get to know everyone and continue our relationship moving forward.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Great to have you. And so now, moving right along, I'd love the honor of introducing Katherine Kelleman, the CEO of Port Authority. Connect has had an awesome opportunity to work with Port Authority for many years, thanks in large part to Breen Mascriotra, who is also here. And Katherine, if you don't mind giving some remarks ahead of our resolution endorsing the report we made together and the long-term planning.
We love that. Well, first, I want to say hello to Breen. I have virtually seen her twice today, which is more than like the last 6 months. First, so I'll rub it all together. So thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me join you today. I want to brag about Breen again. In the fall of 2017, when the CEO hunt was going on, I went to Railvolution in Denver, and I saw this really fantastic presentation about the Eco Innovation District and how it would tie in with the BRT. And Breen was the main Port Authority presenter. And I remember thinking that I had been misinformed because I had been told by the recruiter and everyone else that we did not have a planning department at Port Authority. And I thought that can't be true because with this presentation, I had just seen the TOD guru who kicked ass. There was somebody there who could get planning done. So I am always happy to work with Breen. I'm happy to come in with organizations where she's been partnering because I think Breen really epitomizes to me a lot of what we should be doing. And that is we are connecting communities. Port Authority, broadly speaking, is a secondary service. Yes, there are people who love trains and buses, but the value that we bring is the connections we provide. People don't say, let's expand Port Authority so we can see more incline cars. I mean, that'd be great to get more funiculars, but people say, let's talk about Port Authority because of what transportation does. We all know that transit is an economic engine. We have a nearly $500 million budget with operating. Once you add capital, it's over $500 million. That's a lot of money we can spend locally. That's a lot of salaries, a lot of people saving up for college, a lot of small businesses we can grow. But more importantly, a lot of reinvesting in our neighborhoods and our broader communities, however we define them. When my husband and I were looking to move here back in 2017, 2018, we thought, what kind of people do we want our children to be? So our boys now are 6 and 8, doing remote learning for 1st and 3rd grade. So the kind of people we want them to be are the people in school, right? Joking aside. We wanted to find a city that would raise them to be good people, that would have a sense of knowing your neighbor and being in it together, somewhere where walkability was still possible, and that there was a long history of people knowing each other and having these connections. And to go on Lydia's joke from just a minute ago, you're new if you haven't been here 10 years. Pittsburgh's a place where we want to raise a kid. You see this wallpaper? We bought a house and put up wallpaper. We want to stay here. And we want to continue to take what has been an awesome town and make it into a bigger region for this future, which can be better connected and more equitable too. We all know the Pitt study that came out last year talking about Pittsburgh being the worst city in America for Black women. And so we talk now at Port Authority about what, acknowledging what roles transit has played in reinforcing red line neighborhoods, in skipping certain parts of town, for instance, so folks can't get there quickly, or they have to get a transfer, or not making an investment in the city proper in the way that you see park and rides or transfer facilities going up in the outer areas, the ring around the city. So what can we do as a transit agency to keep these dollars investing in our region and move that to more equitable investment? And that includes, from a transit-oriented development perspective, what about affordable housing? If something we know is that people may live in one part of the county and then take a 2-hour bus ride to go to where the jobs are emerging, how do we leverage this $500 million budget to be able to get affordable housing closer to where their jobs are? You've heard a lot about nationwide ridership trends. That ridership was dropping in the, from 15, 16, 17. it wasn't Uber, it wasn't Lyft, it was gentrification. It was closer in transit neighborhoods across the country. People were being displaced, and they're from, folks looking for shorter trips and cute houses were displacing our traditional transit neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods moved, or a lot of folks did move, not enough for us to redeploy resources. So now, as we're looking forward, how do we connect the dots? How do we rethink where service should go and the value of service? February, when we talked about a system plan, people wanted trains to the airport, which is still a great idea. But now we talk a system plan and we're talking, what about 24-hour service? What about guaranteeing enough frequency so folks on the P1 can ride this fall and maintain some physical distance from somebody else? What about not just sanitizing buses, but having visible air filtration units within the buses, which would always keep you healthier, but right now they're pretty critical. So there's a lot of pieces that come together about where we go forward and how we do that all together. I saw in the chat bar, we are still doing our system plan conversation. It's Next Transit. And so there's a link in the chat bar, or on Twitter, it's Next, NEX_transit. So plug in and we can have these conversations, not just about what transit should be doing this year, but where do we need it to be in 25 years? Swing for the fences, and let's build that vision together. And building it together, it's cool stuff. It's some things which are technology that just make your life easier. For instance, our Ready to Ride tool, you can go to our website, portauthority.org. It's also mobile friendly. And you can see what the average passenger loads have been on your route for the past 2 weeks, so you can help plan your trip. We're still working on our pilot program for using your phone to pay, and then looking for the group of our folks. About 8% of our patrons are paying cash. What can we do to make that life easier? If we get rid of a transfer, how do they not just pay every trip? How does a cash paying person have access to a day pass? Or they pay once and they have a fare media that they tap and they can ride for 4 hours. How do we use technology to remove some barriers to using transit? And acknowledging that, yes, if you get rid of transfers, for instance, if you make it easier to get to certain passes, we'll bring in less money, but we can't balance our budget on the backs of the folks who are using us every day. So what's a fair way to answer those questions? I'm done for time, and my children love pepperoni roll, which we discovered was a West Virginia thing. And so that didn't make it out of my goodie bag but 3 feet. So thank you very much for having me here. Breen, thank you for being the constant rock star. And thanks for all the great work that Connect is doing with our communities.
Applause, applause. You can't hear it, but it's happening in the pictures.
Well, thank you, Katherine, for that. As a transit community in Dormont, we are extremely thankful for all of the Port Authority's efforts, as well as the opportunity to work with Breen and the rest of your staff, and all the great planning work that we can do with them. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce and make the motion to approve Resolution 20-03 on transportation. Whereas the Port Authority of Allegheny County has been a longtime partner of Connect, and whereas Connect municipalities worked from early 2018 through 2019 with Port Authority and Dover partners to explore and encourage transit-oriented development in their communities, and produced a best practices guide, executive summary, and municipal toolkits. And whereas the Port Authority is currently forming a 25-year plan called Next Transit to better serve Allegheny County, therefore be it resolved that Connect commits to working with Port Authority on the long-range plan, and members will represent the needs of all their residents in the process. Be it further resolved that Connect members will consider the transit-oriented development best practices documents developed by our members in partnership with the Port Authority and Dover partners when there is an opportunity for development. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. The motion is accepted and adopted. And,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah, and now it is my pleasure to introduce Joylette Portlock, who is the Executive Director of Sustainable Pittsburgh.
Hi, everyone, and good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation to give some remarks. It's as I've been watching everything that's been happening, I have to give a shout out because I'm actually a Swissvale resident, so I am currently in a connected community, and I feel very good about that. And as a nod to Catherine's remarks, my boys are 8 and 11, actually 9 tomorrow and 11. So I definitely understand the not quite yet from here, though I've been here for 13 years myself. However, my boys are from here. That's what I always tell people. I may not be from Pittsburgh, but my kids are. So I'm the executive director of Sustainable Pittsburgh, which is a 21-year-old nonprofit that works with hundreds of partners. That's nonprofit partners. That's also a number of businesses. That's many, many local governments in the region and across the state. In fact, most of the connected communities, which is great. And so most of you are probably, if you are familiar with us, you're familiar with us through the excellent work of Jim Price, who is the program manager on our staff that manages the Sustainable Pennsylvania Community Certification Program. So if you are interested in more information about that, definitely get in touch. Our view of sustainability, we work to advance sustainability, which is really the comprehensive view. So a lot of people think of simply environment, but sustainability, true sustainability, is really at the intersection of environment, of equity, and of economic development, which are all things that we need to be able to build our communities and our region to last. And that's what we are in the business of doing. So Connect, as you may guess from that kind of that work plan, is an essential, has been an essential partner in our work, and we are looking forward to partnership with all of you into the future, as was talked about in kind of the introductory remarks from Mayor Peduto and County Executive Rich Fitzgerald. The strength of our region is really the engagement of everybody in it, right? Our challenge, of course, in a fragmented region is the efficiency of our work together and making sure that we're working together as effectively as possible, and Connect is such an important network and how we do that. But what I find wonderful on the other side of that really is, how many people are so invested in making this a better place. So I'm going to talk a little bit, just briefly, about our work with you so far and things that we're looking forward to into the future. As Lydia mentioned, we are working on a number of projects. Allie Walker, I know, has been deeply engaged with many of your communities around a recycling assessment, which we'll hear more about later. She is also working with us, helping to coordinate the work of a collaboration of a few dozen different organizations across sectors to address single-use plastics and waste in our communities as well, work that ties very closely together. Allie is also helping to coordinate a regional effort to measure sustainability. So I mentioned sustainability is pretty broad topic area. There are a number of different factors, everything from equity indicators to employment to environmental progress that play in. And so we're currently organizing an effort so that we can start to have that shared language and that shared understanding of where we are as a region and where we can go, and to really help all of you and all decision makers throughout the region have better data and information to work from as we move forward. We're also excited about the work that you are doing with your climate action plan effort and so many of the other great Connect initiatives that are starting to come into play around transit, around everything. So at the end of the day, sustainability goals really are our shared goals. So as an organization, our mission is to empower decision-making that builds a fundamentally equitable, resilient, healthy, and prosperous region. And when you take that mission and you compare it to the work that all of you are engaged in every day, and that we are all, in the business of working towards, these are clearly shared goals. It's about making our region better. And so I just want to use my brief time here to thank you for your partnership. Thank you for all that you do. We're very much working together to make the region a better place. And thank you again to Allie and Jim for your excellent work and making these connections stronger. Connect is such a great word, such a great name for wordplay, I find. So.
Awesome. Applause, applause, applause. All the applause. Thank you, Dr. Portlock. I forgot to mention that part of your name. We are honored, Paryush, and thank you for alluding to the climate action plan process, especially as we go regional with it. We've got Connect's local climate action, regional climate action plan coordinator here, Eric Robb. And without further ado, he will be right here sharing his screen right on time. Thanks, Eric.
Yep, can you hear me? Thanks, Lydia. So yeah, like Lydia said, my name's Eric. I'm coordinating Connect's involvement in the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's local government climate action program. So for those of you that have not heard of this so far, this year or last year's program, I'm going to be filling everybody in real quick as fast as I can because there's a lot in here. So last year, the PADEP worked with a U.S. branch of an international organization called ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, and they selected 20 local governments in Pennsylvania to participate in this LCAP program. And the goal was to measure local government greenhouse gas emissions and then develop municipal climate action plans that can lead to reduction in local emissions. So out of the 20 communities that were selected, 6 of them were your colleagues here in Connect, Etna, Forest Hills, Millvale, Munhall, Sharpsburg, and West Homestead. And then on top of this, the city of Pittsburgh is an ICLEI member city, and they've used the tool before for their own climate action planning efforts. I've had the privilege to work personally with Cindy Bond, Mary Ellen Ramage, and Brittany Reno on their communities caps last year and over the summer. Out of this process, each community got something different, but everything was very useful. So a little bit about the process. Each community sent out data requests to a bunch of different service providers, utilities, and planning commissions. And they were trying to get electricity, gas, transportation, solid waste, water, and wastewater data. What we got out of that was raw consumption data that was then put in a program called ClearPath through ICLEI. And we got something really nice like this. We got a summary of greenhouse gas emissions from each community. We get an emissions total. And then that was broken up by some of these categories that you can see here on the right, transportation, residential, commercial. And you get one of these for each community, and each one is different. Just out of the 6 that we looked at, there were some very, very stark differences between each of them. And those differences inform some of the local government action that they want to take. So the plan itself includes some potential local government actions. These are just a few, there's tons, but things from energy efficiency to water conservation, to increase recycling, all these things are really connected. And you can model all these and you can see how it reduces your emissions. You can see in that modeling chart right there, whether you're reaching your target or not, whatever the local government sets. So at the end of this entire process, we had 6 climate action plans, some of them ready to be finalized by the end of this year. We had infrastructure and utility working groups and environmental and economic development working groups, and there was a lot of interest expressed by a number of different members that they wanted to do this sort of thing too. So luckily, Connect was invited this year by the PADEP for the 2nd round of their program, but this time we're participating as a region. So that's all 30+ municipalities in Connect to participate in 2020 to 2021. There are 2 other regional entities too that are participating. And so, you know, there are benefits to to participating as a group rather than individually, rather than having 30 different individual plans, having one regional climate action plan. It streamlined the data collection process. You'd have much more coordination, shared measurements, and best practices between communities. And then that ultimately leads to more successful reduction efforts by individual communities. So, you know, a little bit about the steps. We're in the data collection process right now. So I'm collecting community consumption data from all those different utilities you saw pictured on a couple slides ago for all the different communities. Later on, we're going to be strategizing and engaging. So the GISPIA capstone is already working on some of this. We're going to end up engaging with key stakeholders and forming an advisory committee or a task force that can steer us in the right direction. And ultimately, that's building a comprehensive plan that can assist communities with their own sustainability goals. So, you know, a plan like this, we want it to be broad, we want it to be inclusive, but also specific enough that it provides individual information for each of these communities. It's like that, like those summary charts that you saw. It allows data collection and climate action planning efforts, regardless of the size of the community or the capacity, and it grants easier and consistent access to some of this important community data that we really need a lot more of, like energy use. It facilitates coordination and fundraising, and it's helping communities reach these goals that they set out as a group. So, you know, my hope for some of this is, you know, Connect can stay ahead of the curve. So, you know, more and more local governments are doing this. Doing this as a group is recognizing, you know, that we have a unique opportunity here with the city being so close, with them doing their own climate action plans. But it's also realizing that this climate issue and some of these sustainability issues don't just end at the, you know, the borders of Pittsburgh or Etna or West Homestead. We all have an important role to play. All the information we get from a project like this is just going to give us, you know, additional understanding to solving some of these important and tightly connected issues. I'm excited to keep working on it, and on behalf of Connect and all of its members, and I'd like to see where it ends up going. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Flynn, a commissioner of the Township of Mount Lebanon, to read the next resolution.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, and I appreciate it. And I have to say that the work that you and the team have done has been absolutely fantastic. We had the opportunity for Eric and Lydia to come and speak to our Environmental Sustainability Board recently, actually, about this initiative. And Mount Lebanon as a community has had a climate action plan in place actually since 2012, but building, you know, a climate action plan that is sustainable and embedded in an organization really does require that there are building blocks in place much bigger than one community. And so seeing, you know, this opportunity, our Environmental Sustainability Board is very excited to engage in the regional effort as opposed to trying to only focus in Mount Lebanon. So it's a fantastic opportunity and we really appreciate everything you're doing. With that said, thank you. And I do have the privilege to make a motion to approve Resolution 20-04 for the Regional Climate Action Plan. Whereas greenhouse gas emissions have increased over the last 150 years, and whereas the role of greenhouse gas emissions in climate change is well documented, and whereas in 2020, municipalities and Connect staff and interns in partnership with ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, conducted research, solicited and analyzed data, and produced municipal climate action plans. And whereas those municipal climate action plans included recommendations for local governments to lower greenhouse gas emissions within their communities, and whereas Connect and 2 other Pennsylvania regions have been invited to use the ICLEI Clear Path tool through June 2021 in order to examine municipal climate action plans and move towards a larger regional effort. And whereas the development of climate action plans embodies many issues Connect has and continues to address, such as stormwater flooding, transportation issues, energy concerns, air quality, and utilities coordination. And whereas Connect can and has collectively requested data from utility providers on behalf of individual municipalities for a more efficient process. And whereas Connect has benefited from a dedicated and experienced GISPIA intern who will continue to lead this work. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect intends to lay the groundwork for a regional climate action plan and will coordinate with entities working on similar projects in the region to define sustainability metrics. And be it further resolved that Connect members support the creation of a regional climate action plan and welcome Connect's support and encouragement of municipal climate action plans. May I have a second?
So moved. Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The resolution passes, and I have the privilege of passing the baton to Mary Ellen Ramage.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say a couple things. It's great to be with you all again today. And I do want to, if Dave, I can't see the gallery. So Dave, again, I'm giving you that big virtual hug. And I won't say more because I'll probably start to cry. So it's been a pleasure working with you from day one. I'm happy to talk about my passion and something that's key to survival here in Etna, which is stormwater. And speaking on regional level, I'm very fortunate to have some of the other communities in this organization, Shaler, Ross, where we have been working collaboratively on stormwater issues for a while now. We're in the middle of a new watershed implementation plan. So I'm very excited when we talk about this on a regional level and using it to address the problems that we're experiencing with the climate action, with the climate change. You know, being in a valley, we're looking at all kinds of things now. This is a very hilly region. This is not just flooding, this is landslides. I mean, it's just an incredible phenomenon that we're up against. So I'm very happy. So with that, I'd like to make a motion and introduce the following resolution. Whereas stormwater and flooding cleanups are very costly to municipality and residents, and increase in annual extreme weather incidents has become even more straining on municipal budgets. And whereas stormwater and flooding are a public safety and health hazard to residents, and whereas a single municipality is unable to confront these issues of stormwater and flooding on its own, and the mitigation is an Ohio River Basin regional issue. And whereas there is significant number of municipal and environmental organizations working to address both stormwater quantity, which is stormwater, and water quality, which is drinking water, issues in the Ohio River Basin. And whereas Connect has convened members and partners around this issue in our infrastructure and utilities working group since 2019, and has worked with and convened organizations for 10 years before that in various committees. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect will continue to support collaborative actions of region-wide coalitions. Be it further resolved that Connect members will use best practices developed in these regional networks and implement them locally in their own municipalities, and will remain committed to this issue until it is no longer a crisis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, and with that, I'm sorry. I'd be honored to introduce Ron Borzak, the manager of Ross Township and one of my partners in the Pine Creek watershed. So hello, Ron. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. And Mary Ellen, obviously a colleague and two alumni of the very first Connect Congress, although mine was with another community. Distinguished connectors, alumni, and interested parties, in the spirit of cooperation under which Connect was founded, if only today's society would take note, I'd like to make a motion that the following resolution be adopted. Resolution 20-06, Coordinate PA. Whereas there is no legal requirement for communities and utilities to cooperate in excavation projects, and whereas projects often overlap and do not use taxpayer dollars most efficiently, And whereas Connect partnered with PA One Call in 2015 to create the Coordinate PA software, which aids coordination between municipalities and utility companies and between neighboring municipalities' development projects. And whereas the Coordinate PA software is most effective in finding opportunities to work together and save time and costs when everyone participates. And whereas Coordinate PA trainings are free and flexible to municipalities, and Connect is able to serve as liaison between PA One Call and municipalities, therefore be it resolved that Connect members' representatives commit to emphasizing the value of using Coordinate PA as a planning tool to work more efficiently with neighboring communities, contractors, and utility companies to their councils and or municipal managers. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, well, thank you. And at this time, I will pass on to Allie Walker, Connect Regional Recycling Research Coordinator.
Thank you so much. So I am here to present the regional recycling report. Let me pull up my screen here.
So Allie's been introduced twice, but we are just so proud of Connect and the support that all of our members have given, and the fact that this was a direct order from the visioning session last year. I don't think I made it through the first 3 of my meetings as executive director of Connect in my first year without recycling conversations taking up a large part of the executive committee. And they tasked Connect with what is going on with recycling and what can we do. And so Allie, without further ado, please take it away.
Sure. So first of all, I want to thank Connect, but I also would like to thank all of those who acted as an advisory board for this research project. And that includes Stacey Albin from the PRC, Patty DeMarco, Ashley DiGregorio from PRC, Dr. David Miller, Lydia Morin, and Jim Price from Sustainable Pittsburgh. And again, to all of Connect, who really has helped this entire project move forward, especially in the terms of data collection. So without further ado, sorry. That was the quick version, so now I'll go back and give you the elongated version. So, okay, we are facing currently a time of great change. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to rage, the United States is also waking up to the racial injustices that still occur in our country. This is a time of consciousness on issues across all Americans, a pivot point for us as policymakers, and an opportunity to make those great changes. If we want to make these meaningful changes, we do need a holistic approach, one that, in addition to everything else, addresses the issues that are affecting our environment. To achieve environmental justice and more productive economy, we must rethink our solid waste, recycling, and general materials management strategies. So we are focusing on recycling because we have seen changes in this market. And we're also focusing on recycling because of Connect's visioning session last year, which listed recycling as an urgent issue. And since that point, we have also worked on several other climate-related initiatives, including ICLEI climate action reports, which we heard about from Eric Robb a few minutes ago. It is very clearly an urgent issue, as has been expressed, but with increased need for sterile and disposable products in light of the pandemic, the urgency is increasing. From 2013 to 2019, our region, who is becoming increasingly more environmentally conscious, saw a 10% decrease in curbside recycling. We want to improve our recycling, but the truth is, with all of the forces that are constantly changing around us, including policies and markets, our fragmented programs cannot keep up. Based on anecdotal evidence and information gathered from a recycling focus group held with PRC, we know that there is a strong interest in regional recycling from the Connect municipalities. The report discusses several regional solutions in the form of waste authorities and districts, mainly highlighting Cuyahoga County in Ohio, York County in Pennsylvania, and the state of Connecticut. These all have robust and in some cases self-sustaining waste authorities who take over these functions of managing waste, recycling, and materials management. These create smoother running programs that are less fragmented. So moving on, let's see if I can get this to go. There we go. Moving on to our region's programs, it's important to first understand how these are built. So in looking at all of the layers of documentation through these programs, which include ordinances, contracts, and websites and communications, this is the structure which emerged from those. The ordinance or government piece creates the legal base for the program, which informs the contracts or the agreement with the hauler. The agreement in the contracts should then inform the content of the website or any communications. All these pieces should align as they create a chain which connects the government to its residents, which use the curbside recycling service. But unfortunately, in our case, many of these programs do not align, and we are seeing confusion surrounding programs. So I'm going to briefly gloss over these findings, but I highly encourage you to read the report. It is slightly longer than this PowerPoint, but I promise you it's not just 25 pages of full text. There's some interesting pieces in there. But the first review that we completed was of municipal websites, and some of you have heard this several times on Economic and Environment Working Group meetings. But essentially what we found from our review of the municipal websites is that there's outdated information out there. There's information that doesn't match to what is actually recyclable by the standards of recycling facilities. And all in all, we're essentially speaking 45 different languages. Each of us has our own different language revolving around materials that are recyclable. So on to the next portion of these reviews that we completed, which was a review of everyone's recycling ordinances. And in conclusion, we found that many of these are outdated, which lack pieces that would aid in public education and data collection, which is why we are so unable to even understand what's happening in the current moment with our recycling programs. To give you an idea, our average year of ordinance adoption was 1995. So this probably came out of Act 101 of 1988, and that's why our average ordinance adoption was 25 years ago. Lastly, the last piece that we looked into was the contract piece. Anecdotally, this is what we were told was going to hold the most information and was where we were going to find all the answers we were looking for. And unfortunately, what we found was that the contracts just didn't contain this information. In a conversation I had, essentially the reason for this is that we're not asking the right questions of the haulers when we're putting our bids out. So we have some information that we could have access to, and we aren't tapping into. Sorry, I'm working with two screens here and it's not transitioning very smoothly. There we go. So we have seen where our recycling programs fall short, and we all have expressed interest in wanting to make improvements, but what exactly can we do? So this report released a few recommendations, and the first of those is to form an exploratory committee to research and bring best recycling practices to our region through the creation of a centralized materials management entity. And materials management is the term that is being used for all waste and recycling. It helps us think of our waste as more of a resource rather than just trash. So the committee that we propose will create the framework for such an entity and engage this entity, as well as aid in the following activities, which include making sure we're all speaking the same language across our region and within our own programs. So we can do this by creating a standard way of talking about materials, a list of standard names, adopting a standardized list of materials that we as a region on the whole accept at the curve, adopting more robust ordinances and contracts. Once these changes are adopted, we do need to educate the public further, engaging a market agency of some sort to create and run a widespread public education plan with a strong strategy to ensure the widest and most equitable reach and the ability to have flexibility as recycling trends change. We then need to make sure that we are collecting and tracking our data. So building this into the layer of our programs, a mechanism to be able to better track progress and address gaps in our programs, in addition to committing to entering any information we might have at the current time. So all of these changes they will increase our region's volume and purity of recyclables. However, this level of dedication to complete all these activities, I believe far exceeds the bandwidth which we currently have as a region. Some sort of centralized materials management entity can dedicate time and resources to these activities, which will improve our region's materials management programs, create more informed recyclers, and will generally improve the quality of our region's recycling. Doing this also helps create jobs and saves municipal dollars. So the intent in our region for better recycling does exist, but we can't afford to lose momentum on this. Groundwork does need to be laid. Better, more robust programs and actionable steps need to be taken to ensure that as a region, we not only improve our recycling, but also lower our impact on the planet. And as I said before, we are facing this time of great change, so let's make those together. And with that, Patty DeMarco can introduce to you our recycling resolution.
Thank you, Allie. And before I read this resolution, I have to thank you again and the whole team that worked on this project for so many months. We've had just so much invaluable assistance. Jim Price and PRC and Ashley Deemer. We've had a lot of people weigh in on this and critique things, as well as our Skillshare group from Covestro. So with that, I would like to propose, please, and make a motion that whereas a majority of Connect members present at the July 2019 visioning session identified recycling as an urgent priority and requested a GSPIA capstone report with recommendations, and whereas recycling has been one of the key issues of the Economic and Environmental Development Working Group, where Connect has partnered with cross-sector organizations since October of 2019. And whereas Connect has guided regional recycling studies from the University of Pittsburgh Graduate School of Public and International Affairs Public Administration capstone class, and from the Covestro Center for Community Engagement at Robert Morris University. And whereas Connect has staffed a part-time regional recycling research coordinator since April 2020 to continue compiling data on the current state of recycling, coordinate the partner work, and provide technical and labor assistance to municipalities. And whereas the Economic and Environmental Development, the Environmental and Economic Development, it should say, Working Group is a long-term tool for Connect to address the needs of long-term materials management and legislation. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect endorses better coordination of recycling services and regional data collection, as well as public education on recyclables and the recycling process. Be it further resolved that Connect calls on its member municipalities to support the regional effort by offering to share information that may be found useful to the regional recycling research coordinator. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much for that. I know the new Environment and Economic Development Working Group will be covering a number of things in addition to recycling, including public transportation issues and other things that connect all of us, including the climate action plan. So I appreciate all the work that all of you have done in sharing your information with Allie, and I look forward to your responses and feedback and continuing to work on this. Thank you. think this goes back to Lydia.
Yes, I'm just using my reaction for clapping. Allie, great job. Hattie, thank you so much for your leadership, and everyone for contributing and moving and keeping that momentum going. We are 2 minutes ahead of schedule. I can't even believe it. So we've got our next step here is we're going to go into breakout rooms again. This is the bathroom breakout. So these are very casual. You have a moment to walk around and stretch and, you know, refill your mug with whatever you want to put in there. And we're just going to send you into your breakouts. So you'll have to accept that. And then you'll be in there with some random people. We're going to make them a little bigger this time so that you won't be alone if you were alone last time. So thank you all for sticking with us. This is the most fun Zoom. I can't get over it. You're all amazing. But stand up, stretch, join a breakout room, and we'll be back with Otis Pitts, Director of Public Policy and Community Relations for Allegheny County Health Department. And welcome back from that breakout. And now the Director of Public Policy and Community Relations for the Allegheny County Health Department, a very, very powerful partner of Connects, and we're thrilled you're here, Otis. In Pittsburgh.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Otis Pitts from the Allegheny County Health Department, and on behalf of Dr. Deborah Bogan, our Health Director, I want to thank Connect and the Connect membership for your support, not only during our long-standing partnership as it relates to the region's opioid crisis, but also for your efforts to assist our communities throughout the COVID pandemic. And it's an understatement to say that these are challenging times, but I really can't imagine how bad things would be without your support and your backing. And in my capacity at the Health Department, I oversee our overdose prevention work. And I'd like to extend a special thank you to both Lydia and Joelle and Marsh for all the work they've done to get us this work off the ground here in Allegheny County. As many of you know, it's been through their hard work and diligent efforts that the Health Department has been connected to so many of your communities and positioned to supply so many local EMS, fire, and police agencies with the life-saving medication, Narcan. Getting Narcan into the hands of people most likely to witness an overdose will remain a key component to the county's response in preventing overdose deaths. And although the overdose crisis no longer appears in the headlines as often as it did maybe a couple years ago, I want to take a minute here just to remind the Connect membership that the opioid crisis continues, and in many ways, it's become even more complex during the COVID pandemic. For instance, early on in the COVID pandemic, this past spring, many EMS agencies were experiencing individuals post-overdose refusing transport to hospitals for care. And thankfully, and due to our partnership with Connect, many of these EMS agencies were equipped with stocks of naloxone, specifically meant to be left behind with these overdose victims or their loved ones in the event of another life-threatening episode. So the opioid crisis is not over, and the work continues. Increasingly, we're not only pursuing programming to help people act in the event of an overdose, but the Health Department and our partners are working to promote pathways and linkages to care for people with substance use disorder to get the medical care they need. This second phase of our work features many innovative strategies and systems level approaches to rethink case management for people with substance use disorder. One of those many innovative approaches is the pre-arrest diversion program that Lydia and Joellen are currently engaging many of you on. And as many of you are aware, diversion programming will not be a one-size-fits-all approach for our communities, but we look forward to the hard work in identifying effective strategies going forward. So not only has COVID-19 presented physical barriers for engaging the county's residents, but as we all know, it's led to significant economic and emotional stressors that will have a unique impact on those with substance use disorder, as well as those already on the road to recovery. So it will take the efforts of many, including local governments and local public health, to ensure they have meaningful opportunities to pursue wellness. Thank you again for all you do, and thank you, Lydia, for the invite.
Applause, applause. You would be getting lots of applause right now that you'd be able to hear, Otis, but instead you'll see lots of different hands clapping for you. And welcome, welcome. We're so happy you're here. And with that,
Otis, thank you, and thank you for your efforts. And I'm presenting our law enforcement assistant diversion 08 of resolution 08 of 2020. Before I do, I'd like to recognize Kaylee Dryden, Kelly, Kat Sutherland for their efforts, and particular recognition to Joellen March. Joellen seems to always be on the front lines of every idea we come up with. She takes the really difficult projects, and we are really appreciative, Joellen, of everything you've done. We worry about you sometimes, but we think you're doing a great job, and thank you very much. And especially to our recognition to our Executive Director, Lydia, for her efforts in promoting this program. Whereas since 2017, Connect members have committed time and resources to addressing the rise of opioid overdoses in their municipalities. And whereas people with opioid use disorders and other behavioral health issues are often repeatedly arrested for problematic behaviors and cycle through the criminal justice system. And whereas law enforcement officers and other stakeholders in Connect communities have identified the need for new tools to assist people with unmet behavioral needs, and whereas the justice system involved disproportionately affects people of differing demographics in Connect communities, and repeatedly arresting these community members often does not address the root cause of their problematic behavior. And whereas Connect and the Allegheny County Health Department have done in-depth research and worked with the Law Enforcement Assistance Diversion National Support Bureau for over 1 year, preparing to uniquely adapt the program to Allegheny County. And whereas Connect and the Allegheny County Health Department produced an extensive report of the research and recommendations given to the municipalities to prepare for piloting LEAD, and whereas Connect has received funding through the Allegheny County Health Department's Centers for Disease Control Overdose Data to Action Grant, and has hired a lead program director and lead community engagement coordinator to assist municipalities, councils, managers, police departments, social workers, and community members in planning to pilot the LEAD and Connect member municipalities. And whereas Allegheny County plans to participate in the LEAD National Support Bureau Proof of Concept Initiative, which provides access to technical assistance, training, relationships, and many other resources through the Bureau. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect will utilize the LEAD National Support Bureau's assistance and adopt best practices to explore and pilot pre-arrest diversion projects. Be it further resolved that Connect endorses the recommendation of the report produced with the Allegheny County Health Department. Finally, be it further resolved that Connect members, representatives will be open to engaging in dialogue with law enforcement and LEAD, and will support the exploration of LEAD and Connect and the potential to pilot in select Connect member municipalities. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, give your consent by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so ordered. It is now my pleasure to introduce Sarah Harvey, Councilwoman from Mckees Rocks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before I read the resolution on lead safety, I'd like to thank Allies for Children for all of their hard work on lead safety for families in both Mckees Rocks Borough and throughout our region, particularly Laura Stephanie. Laura, we couldn't do it without you. We deeply appreciate it.
Thanks, Sarah.
I'd like to make a motion. Yes. Hey, Laura. Thank you. I'd like to motion that the following resolution be approved. Resolution 20-09 on lead safety. Whereas lead is still very prevalent in our communities, and the presence of lead in water, paint, or the air is harmful, especially to the health of children. And whereas both individuals and municipalities face higher future healthcare costs when there are high rates of elevated lead levels in our community. And whereas there are only minimal legal requirements for lead abatement in houses and demolition. And whereas people are spending significantly more time at home due to COVID-19 pandemic, which is dangerous for those who have lead in their homes. And whereas Connect is a member of Lead Safe Allegheny's Policy Committee and serves as liaison between the coalition and Connect members. And whereas the Lead Safe Allegheny Coalition is prepared to offer examples, resources, and expertise to municipalities interested in adopting a lead safe ordinance unique to their community and will work with them to do so. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect members will look to best practices and seek the adoption of ordinances that protect their residents from the harmful impacts of lead, and Connect will compile a library of these model ordinances for others to reference. Be it further resolved that Connect supports countywide and statewide initiatives that limit residents' exposure to lead in water, paint, air, and demolition practices. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The resolution passes. And now I'd like to pass it along to John, who is the Vice President of Brentwood Council.
Thank you, Sarah. I do want to make one correction. I'm no longer the Vice President of the Council. I stepped down last January and turned it over. And AJ Doyle is now our current Vice President in Brentwood, doing a very fine job. I look at this fact, I sort of like over my years of career, I used to do a lot of seminars at conferences and so on, and many times I would get that 4 o'clock or 4:30 slot, and I'm standing there before a group of people thinking I'm the last obstacle before the bar, and that's sort of like right now is the way we look at it. We're coming to the end of our Connect Congress today, and it's been a great opportunity. Last year, in April of 2019, I presented the resolution dealing with the GISPA report that had been put together by the Capstone Group at Pitt under the direction of Dr. Miller and Dr. Colella. And in that report, there were a lot of issues raised about the current circumstances with the volunteer fire departments within our communities. And that report was very extensive and really addressed a lot of issues. However, we're only part way. We know what the problems are and what the issues are. The biggest issue now is what do we do about it? And so with this resolution I'm going to be presenting today, it's the next step in looking at how do we address these problems we're facing and where do we go next. So with that, I would move the following resolution. Whereas the number of volunteer firefighters in Pennsylvania has fallen to 10% of what it was in 1970, and there is more fire equipment than there are firefighters to operate the equipment within our region. And whereas the volunteer firefighter population is aging and recruitment efforts are proving more difficult, and whereas multiple independent volunteer fire companies show up to fight the same fires with smaller teams where it would be safer to have teams of firefighters trained together on the same equipment. And whereas paying for fire services is very expensive and is becoming unaffordable to many municipalities. And whereas the country and most municipalities are experiencing large revenue losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Connect now more than ever has reason to find collaborative opportunities and regional cost savings to continue providing quality service to constituents. And whereas the graduate students in the spring 2019 GISPA Connect capstone course completed a report with recommendations for fire departments and municipal governments, and the research will be built upon in the fall 2020 GISPA Connect capstone course. Therefore, be it resolved that Connect is committed to continuing research into data and solutions for this volunteer firefighter crisis, as well as strengthening out our existing relationships with partners. Be it further resolved that Connect members will engage in conversations and efforts exploring recommended labor and cost-efficient strategies to keep those departments sustainable and our community safe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. And now back to Lydia.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And thank you everybody today who has made such great efforts along the way. I want to, we're gonna switch something on the agenda that I haven't had a chance to even message anybody about, but I'm gonna have our new incoming chair, Patty, give a quick closing remark that will also encourage you to stay if you want to for a little longer, and we'll put you into breakout rooms one more time. And those can be for as long as you want to stay. And so we'll leave it open and folks can stay and chat. And at probably by 6:30, I might walk away because there is another Zoom meeting then that I have to go to. But we want you guys to have this opportunity to be together, exchange information, set up other times to chat, but we know right now you have it. So Patty, if you don't mind sending us off into our breakout rooms, that will be also the rooms that we leave from.
Thank you very much. First of all, Lydia, for all of your help and support, and Tess and Allie and the whole staff. You really make Connect work for all of us because you work together so well. It's a very tight-knit team, and I really appreciate the chance to work with you. I take this position as chair for Connect with a great deal of humility and also with a great deal of hope. We're facing some tremendous challenges. The unknown is looming at us, not just the climate and the pandemic, but also the global pollution, just massive problems. But we can find solutions if we're looking for equitable, resilient, and sustainable options. Going back to normal is not going to be like the old normal. We have to find a better way, a better path forward that helps to correct some of the problems that we've all been coping with and that have brought us to this place. I'm really looking at forming a better future because we're stronger together, really and truly, when we join our minds and our hands and our collective experience. We're always going to be coming up with a better solution than any of us could by struggling alone. And I think the opportunities for renewing our communities, for investing in things that make real wealth for real people is really the role of local governments. We are looking at strengthening where people live and work every day and making communities where people may be working in a different way, vibrant and resilient and supportive to not only the children who live there and study there, but also to the people who are working there, and making our communities really multifaceted places that support everything that we need to be doing together. And I think the collaboration of our shared skills is going to give us a very, very good way to go forward so we can have better governance in our region for all of the people. I look forward to working with all of you and getting to know many of you better as we, on this journey together. And I hope we have a wonderful rest of the evening. I look forward to seeing a little group shortly. Thank you so much. And thank you for the honor of being your president for this year.
Applause, applause.
Not necessary.
It is. And applause for everyone today.
Yes.
It was so worth it. This might be one of the longest Zooms I've been on, but one of the ones that made me feel the best about where we are as a region and where humanity can be. We are setting the bar high. And I'm so honored to work for you. And with that, Tess will send us into these breakout rooms. We do this at the end of meetings sometimes as a way to walk out of the building together. You never know who you get stuck in the parking lot with, and it can be fun, but there's no obligation. There are some prompts, but if we don't get to those, we will totally get to them at our November Executive Committee and hear longer remarks from all of our new officers. Thank you for accepting your nominations. Thank you all for passing all the resolutions. It's going to be an amazing session this session. 19 months. Let's see what we can do together. Yep. Unmute if you like. Say goodbye.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Much love.
Excellent job.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Been a
Take
great Zoom
care,
meeting.
everybody. Great work.
Great job, everybody. Kudos.
Appreciate it.